Hey guys, before we get started, I just wanted to say I hope you're doing well today. If there's a topic you'd like us to talk about or explore in detail, whether it's something you're curious about, something for school, or even work related, feel free to send us an email. You can find the email address in the video description or in the YouTube bio. We'd love to help you learn, study, or just understand your homework or work a little better. Also, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. I always love seeing that. Wishing you the best, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, take a moment, seriously, just maybe glance down.
Right. It's almost a default uniform these days.
Exactly. Chances are you're either wearing jeans or, you've got a few pairs tucked away somewhere. It's almost impossible to imagine life without them.
Absolutely ubiquitous. A global staple. Symbolizes so much cool, rebellion, comfort.
Style, versatility, you name it. But have you ever really, truly stopped to think about the journey? What actually goes into making just one pair?
It's way more complex than most people imagine.
That's what we're doing today, a deep dive into the fascinating, often hidden world of how jeans are actually made.
Pulling back the curtain, so to speak.
Yeah, our mission is to unpack that journey from like a humble cotton plant in a field somewhere all the way to the iconic denim we all know and love.
We'll break down the key steps, look at some of the hidden complexity.
And hopefully give you a shortcut to being genuinely clued in about this blue gold in our wardrobes.
And we're drawing our insights today from the craft and journey of jeans. It's a great set of sources that really maps out every single stage.
It really does. So get ready for maybe a few aha moments, because what you think you know about your jeans, it might just get a bit of a denim level upgrade today.
Definitely. There's a lot under the surface.
All right, let's kick things off right at the beginning. The origin story. It all starts in the ground, right? In those cotton fields.
Absolutely. The foundation for almost all denim is cotton. It's a natural cellulose fiber, basically, plant stuff growing in those fluffy bowls around the seeds.
And the scale of this is just huge, isn't it? We're not talking small patches.
Oh, it's immense. Global.
I think.
Massive agricultural operation. USA, India, China, Brazil are huge players, among others. They supply the world's cotton.
Okay, let's unpack this. The very first step isn't just like grabbing the fluffy stuff off the plant, is it? There has to be a process to turn those bowls into something usable.
That's spot on. You've got the harvesting first, either machine-picked, which is common on large farms, or sometimes hand-picked. But then comes a really vital step.
Ginning.
Ginning. Okay,
Yeah.
What does that involve?
Ginning is essentially about separation. You take the harvested cotton and you separate the useful fluffy fiber, they call it lint, from the seeds.
Ah, okay.
And also from any other bits of debris, leaves, dirt, stuff picked up from the field.
Makes sense. You need clean fiber.
Exactly. Before the cotton gin was invented, that was Eli Whitney back in the late 1700s, this was incredibly labor intensive. The gin just revolutionized it, made large-scale cotton production possible.
Right.
Without ginning, you'd have seeds and junk mixed in, making it impossible to spin a decent yarn. It's the first cleanup, really, preparing the raw material.
So like a prep stage.
Yeah.
Cleaning it all up. And once you have that pure separated lint, what happens right then, before it becomes thread?
Good question. That cleaned lint, now just pure fiber, gets compressed into these enormous, dense bales.
Bales, like huge blocks of cotton. Exactly.
Yeah.
Hundreds of pounds each, packed super tight. This makes it way easier to transport, think shipping containers, and store efficiently.
Okay, gotcha. Safe space.
Right. And those bales, that signals it's ready for the next big transformation, taking that fluffy stuff and turning it into actual yarn, the thread that eventually becomes denim.
Which brings us straight to spinning. Because, bales aren't jeans. You need thread first. How does that whole process work? What are the key ways they do it?
Okay, so the bales arrive at the textile mill. The lint gets opened up and starts this multi-stage journey to become yarn. First up is usually carding.
Carding. Sounds like brushing.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Think of it as sort of gentle but thorough combing or brushing. The fibers are still a bit tangled and messy from ginning and baling. Carding disentangles them, aligns them roughly in the same direction.
Okay.
It uses these fine wire brushes and forms the fibers into a soft, continuous web, often called a sliver.
A sliver, right.
Now for your higher end jeans, there's often an extra step.
Combing.
Combing, so even more refined. Exactly. Combing takes that carded sliver and removes any remaining short fibers. You're left with only the longest, most uniform cotton fibers.
Ah.
This makes the resulting yarn much smoother, finer, and stronger. It directly translates to that softer, more luxurious feel you get with premium denim. It's a key quality step.
That makes sense. Now, what's really fascinating here, you hear these terms thrown around, ring spun versus open-end spinning. What's the actual difference, and why does it matter so much for the final jeans?
Yeah, that's a critical distinction. It really shapes the character and quality of the denim. So after carding or combing, the sliver is spun into yarn using one of these two main methods.
Okay.
Ring spinning is the older, more traditional method. It's slower. It involves twisting and drafting the fibers simultaneously as they're drawn out.
Right.
This twisting action creates a yarn that's stronger, definitely softer, and has this slight inherent irregularity that actually gives denim part of its character, how it fades over time.
Interesting. So the imperfection is actually desirable.
In a way, yes. It adds depth. That's why ring-spun yarn is almost always used for premium jeans. The denim feels better, hangs better, lasts longer, and develops those really nice vintage fades.
Okay, so that's ring spun. What about open end?
Open-end spinning is much newer, faster, and cheaper. It basically uses air jets to twist loose fibers together into a yarn. It skips that continuous drafting and twisting of ring spinning.
Faster and cheaper sounds less good.
Well, it produces a very uniform yarn, which can be good, but it generally lacks the same strength and softness as ring spun. The resulting denim might feel a bit stiffer, maybe a little harsher initially.
And maybe doesn't fade as nicely.
Often, yeah. It might not develop those same nuanced personal fades over its lifespan. It's perfectly fine for a lot of denim, especially more budget-friendly options, but it's a different feel and aging process.
So wow, that choice right at the spinning stage, ring spun or open end, really dictates so much down the line. The feel, the drape, how long it lasts, how it gets those unique fades.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental decision that echoes through the whole process, right down to how it feels on your skin and how it tells your story over years of wear.
Incredible. So once it's spun, whichever method, they wind it onto big spools, right? Ready for the next big thing.
Exactly. Wound meticulously onto large bobbins. And now it's ready for, arguably, the most iconic stage, dyeing. Getting that signature blue.
Ah, yes, the blue, the magic of indigo dyeing. I mean, what are jeans without that blue, right?
Couldn't agree more. The soul of denim is indigo. For centuries, this came from plants like Indigofera tinctoria. Highly prized, beautiful blue.
And some high-end jeans still use natural indigo, don't they?
They do, yes.
Yeah.
For artisanal reasons, sustainability, the unique character it imparts.
Yeah.
But for the vast majority of jeans made today, it's synthetic indigo.
Okay. Developed when?
Late 19th century. It made consistent, large-scale indigo dyeing possible and affordable. That was key to denim becoming a mass-market item.
Right. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, maybe a bit counterintuitive. You said the unique thing about indigo isn't how deeply it dyes the fiber, but how it doesn't. That sounds weird for a dye.
It does sound weird, doesn't it? You'd think you want full penetration for lasting color. But this is the absolute secret sauce of indigo and why denim fades the way it does.
Okay, explain that. How does not dyeing deeply make it fade?
So, unlike dyes that chemically bond through the entire fiber, indigo mostly just sits on the surface. It forms a kind of ring around the outside of the cotton yarn.
A ring, so the inside stays white?
Largely, yes. The core of the yarn remains mostly undyed. This ring, dyeing, means that as you wear the jeans, live in them, wash them, that surface layer of indigo physically wears away.
Through abrasion, friction.
Exactly. And as it wears off, it slowly reveals the white core underneath. That's what creates the fades, the lighter areas, the whiskers around the pockets, the honeycombs behind the knees.
Ah, okay, so the fading isn't the dye failing, it's the dye revealing the undyed core beneath it.
Precisely. It's designed to do that. It allows the jeans to develop a unique patina, a wear pattern that reflects how you've lived in them.
So when I look at my old favorite pair, all those fades, that's the indigo slowly rubbing off the surface.
That's exactly it. It's the why behind that worn-in look. It's intentional design, meant to let the jeans evolve.
Okay, mind blown a little bit. So how do they apply this surface level dye? Is it just one quick dip?
Oh no, it's much more involved. The gold standard method is called rope dyeing.
Rope dyeing?
Yeah. Imagine thousands of yarns being gathered together into these massive long ropes. These thick ropes are then dipped repeatedly into large vats of indigo dye.
Repeatedly. Okay, that raises a question. Why multiple dips? And I've heard this weird thing, that the yarn comes out of the dye bath looking greenish yellow, not blue. What's going on there?
Yes. That's the fascinating chemistry bit. When the yarn is in the indigo bath, the indigo dye is in a reduced or glucose state. chemically altered so it dissolves in the water and can stick to the cotton.
And in that state, it's greenish yellow.
Exactly. But the magic happens when they lift the ropes out of the vat into the air. Oxygen hits the dye.
Okay.
This exposure to oxygen causes the indigo to oxidize. It changes its chemical structure back, becoming insoluble again, and crucially, turning into that deep indigo blue pigment that locks onto the yarn surface.
Wow. So it literally turns blue in the air.
Right before your eyes. The multiple dips, typically 6 to 12 times, sometimes more, are to build up the color intensity. Each dip adds another thin layer of indigo.
So more dips means a darker, deeper blue?
Precisely. And those layers also contribute to how it fades later on. Layers wearing away reveal the lighter core. It's a really controlled, almost artistic process.
That's incredible. A chemical dance to get that perfect blue. So after all the dipping and oxidizing, they dry it, wind it back up.
Yep, carefully dried, rewound onto beams or bobbins, and now those blue yarns are finally ready for weaving, ready to become actual fabric.
Denim fabric. Which brings us to weaving. What actually defines denim structurally? It's not just blue cotton, right? There's something specific about how it's woven.
Absolutely. Denim is defined by its twill weave. That's the key.
Twill weave. What does that mean in practice?
It refers to those diagonal lines or ribs you can see clearly on the surface of the fabric. If you look closely at your jeans, you'll see them.
Yeah, I see them. Angled lines.
Those lines happen because of the specific way the threads interlace. In a basic plain weave, threads go simply over one, under one. But in a twill, the weft thread, the horizontal one, passes over one or more warp threads, then under two or more warp threads.
Okay.
And crucially, this pattern shifts over by one thread with each row, creating that distinct diagonal pattern. This structure is what gives denim its strength, its durability, and also its characteristic drape.
So how does that relate to the color? Because like you said, jeans are blue on the outside, but usually white or light on the inside. That's the twill weave doing that.
Exactly. It's totally by design. Remember the two sets of yarns? Warp and weft.
Warp is vertical, weft is horizontal.
Correct. The warp yarns, running lengthwise on the loom, are the ones that went through that whole indigo rope dyeing process, so they're blue.
Okay.
The weft yarns, woven across, are typically left undyed natural cotton white.
Right.
Now, in the twill weave pattern used for denim, those blue warp yarns are deliberately floated over more of the white weft yarns on the face of the fabric, usually over 2 or 3 wefts, than under just one.
Ah, so the blue threads dominate the surface.
Precisely. It pushes the blue warp threads to the front, making the outside predominantly blue, while the white weft threads are more visible on the back, making the inside look white or lighter. It's a clever structural choice for both looks and strength.
That's brilliant. So much thought in just the weave pattern. Okay, and speaking of weaving, you mentioned looms. There are different kinds, and some
Yeah.
are more prestigious, especially for denim nerds.
Definitely. The two main types you hear about are the traditional shuttle looms and the more modern projectile looms.
Shuttle looms, those sound old school.
They are. Slower, narrower machines. But they produce something highly sought after. Selvage denim.
Selvage, okay, I've heard that term. It's usually more expensive. Why? What makes it special?
Selvage comes from self-edge. These old shuttle looms carry the weft thread back and forth continuously on a little shuttle. As it goes back and forth, it weaves the edge of the fabric cleanly.
So it doesn't fray.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates a tightly bound, finished edge right on the loom. A self-finished edge. You can spot it if you cuff your jeans, look at the outseam.
Yeah, sometimes there's like a colored line, often red.
That's the classic indicator, usually red, but other colors exist. That finished edge means the denim is inherently more durable, less likely to unravel. It's a mark of traditional craftsmanship.
Okay, so that's shuttle looms and selvage. What about the modern ones? Projectile looms.
These are much faster, wider, built for mass production. Instead of a shuttle, they shoot the weft yarn across using small projectiles or jets of air or water.
More efficient, I guess.
Yeah, way more efficient. But because the yarn is cut at the end of each pass, the edges of the fabric are unfinished, frayed. They need to be stitched up later, usually with an overlock stitch to prevent unraveling.
So selvage is about the traditional method, the clean edge, the inherent durability, versus modern efficiency that needs extra finishing.
That's a good way to put it. Selvage is valued for the history, the quality, the unique character the old looms impart. Mass-produced denim from projectile looms is efficient and accessible. Both have their place.
Makes sense. Okay, so we've got rolls of woven denim, maybe selvage, maybe not. Now it's time to turn that fabric into actual jeans, right? Cutting and sewing.
Exactly. From flat fabric to a three-dimensional garment. But first, often, there's a treatment step for the fabric itself.
Ah, right. You mentioned sanforization earlier, or leaving it unsanforized for raw denim fans. Can you recap that? Why pre-shrink, and why would someone not want it pre-shrunk?
Sure, most denim fabric is sanforized before cutting. It's a process using steam, heat, pressure to pre-shrink the fabric in a controlled way.
So the jeans don't shrink dramatically when you wash them.
Pretty much. It ensures the size you buy is close to the size it stays. Makes sizing consistent off the rack.
But the raw denim folks, they want the shrinkage.
They do. They embrace it. Raw, unsanforized denim is stiff, untouched. The appeal is letting it shrink and mold to your body over time through wear and eventually the first wash.
So it creates super personalized fades and shapes.
Exactly. Unique creases, fades, wear patterns that are entirely yours. It takes patience, can be uncomfortable initially, but the end result is a truly unique pair of jeans. A second skin almost.
I get the appeal, even if it sounds like work. Okay, so sanforized or not, the fabric gets rolled out, layered up, then cutting.
Yep. Huge layers of fabric, sometimes hundreds deep or spread out. Then high-tech cutting. Laser-guided knives, automated computer-controlled machines. It's incredibly precise.
For efficiency and accuracy, I assume.
Absolutely. Ensures every piece is cut perfectly to the pattern, minimizing waste and ensuring consistency across thousands of pairs.
So what are the actual pieces being cut, the blueprint components?
You've got the main parts. Front leg panels, back leg panels, the waistband, pockets, front ones, back ones, maybe that little coin pocket, and a really key piece called the yoke.
The yoke, that's the V-shaped bit on the back under the waistband.
That's the one. And it's amazing how tiny tweaks to these pattern pieces create all the different fits we see: slim, relaxed, boot cut, whatever. The yoke, though, seems small, but is super important for fit, right? Deceptively critical. The angle, the depth, the curve of that V-shaped yoke drastically affects how the jeans fit over your seat. It provides shape, contour, even lift.
Ah, interesting. So different yoke shapes for different fits.
Definitely. A deeper V might give a more curved shaped seat. A flatter yoke, a more relaxed fit. And it's the same for every pattern piece. The leg width, the taper, the rise, how high the waistband sits. It's all carefully engineered to create a specific silhouette and comfort level. Real pattern making skill involved.
It really is garment engineering. Okay, all pieces cut precisely now, finally. Sewing them together.
Now the assembly begins. All those cut pieces move down an assembly line. Lots of specialized heavy-duty sewing machines, each doing a specific job.
And it's not just random stitching, right? There are specific, almost signature steps involved in putting jeans together.
Oh, absolutely. It's a sequence honed over decades for durability and that iconic look. First, usually the back pockets get attached to the back panels, often with those decorative reinforcing stitches, the R's.
Levi's, yeah.
Exactly. Then the yoke gets attached, adding that shape. After that, the inseams and outseams, the leg seams are sewn, usually double stitched or chain stitched for toughness. These seams take a lot of stress.
Right sense.
Then the waistband is built and attached, along with the belt loops. The zipper or button fly is put in as a complex bit.
I bet.
And then the rivets, those little metal studs.
Right, on the pocket corners mainly. What's their deal again? Just for looks.
Not originally. They were patented by Levi Strauss and Jacob Davis way back in 1873. Miners' pants were tearing at stress points like pocket corners. Rivets were the solution, pure function, reinforcing those weak spots.
Do they just stuck around?
Yep. They still had strength, but now they're also a key design element, a sign of authentic denim construction. And finally, the brand patch gets sewn onto the back, waistband leather, jacqueline, whatever.
Gotcha. And the thread color. You often see that contrast stitching, like orange thread on Levi's. Is there a story there?
There is. The thread itself is usually a strong polycotton blend. The orange thread on Levi's. That started because it was strong and highly visible against the blue denim. Made it easy for workers to see if repairs were needed.
Practical.
Totally. But over time, that orange contrast became iconic, part of their brand DNA. So it's both functional heritage and brand identity. This whole sewing stage is where flat fabric becomes a real 3D garment.
Okay, so now we have a pair of jeans, fully sewn, but most jeans we buy aren't stiff and raw like that. They're softer, maybe faded already. That's the next stage, washing and finishing.
Exactly. This is where character, softness, and that lived-in feel get added. Unless it's raw denim, which skips this, most jeans go through some kind of pre-washing.
And the purpose of these washes, it's more than just clanging, right? It's about the feel and the look.
Very much so. It softens the fabric, makes it comfy right away. It also takes out any remaining shrinkage potential, And crucially, it adds visual character. Think enzyme washes, stone washes.
Stone washing. That's literally washing with stones.
Yep. Coupling the jeans with pumice stones, the abrasion breaks down surface fibers, softens the denim, and creates that classic faded vintage look.
And enzyme washes, less abrasive.
Right. Uses enzymes to gently eat away at the surface cellulose. Gives a softer feel, subtle fading, uses less water and energy than stone washing often. There are also acid washes back in the day using bleach for really high contrast fades.
Right, the 80s look.
Exactly. So these processes are basically mimicking years of natural wear and tear in a controlled factory setting.
Fast forwarding the aging process. And then there's distressing, which goes even further than just washing, creating actual wear marks.
Precisely. Distressing is about adding specific signs of wear rips, tears, scrapes, specific fade patterns for aesthetic reasons. It's making the jeans look like they already have a history.
So how do they make those perfectly placed rips or those faded whiskers around the pockets?
A whole toolbox of techniques. Sandblasting or hand sanding uses abrasion on specific areas like thighs or knees to create worn patches.
Okay.
Then there's laser etching. Super precise. Lasers burn away the surface indigo to create intricate patterns. Whiskers fades very controlled and often uses less water and chemicals.
Lasers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whiskering those creases around the crotch can be done by hand scrubbing over forms, using resins, or with lasers. They also do scraping for texture, crinkling for permanent wrinkles, tinting to give a slight aged color cast. Lots of tricks.
It really is artistry trying to replicate natural wear patterns.
It is. Creating a specific aesthetic, a story, before you even buy them.
So after all that washing and maybe distressing, what's the final polish?
They get a final rinse to remove any residues, chemicals, stone dust, whatever. Then they're tumble dried. Some might get a final treatment with softeners for extra comfort, or maybe resins to give a slightly stiffer feel or specific drape. Just final tweaks to the texture and feel.
Making sure they're perfect before they hit the shelves, which leads to the final checks, right? Quality control.
Absolutely vital. Can't have gone through all that effort just to have a faulty product. Every single pair gets inspected.
And what are they looking for? Just obvious flaws.
It's pretty thorough. Stitching quality, any missed stitches, loose threads. Color consistency, is the wash even? Sizing, does the label match the actual measurements? And function, do the zipper, buttons, rivets all work properly, and are they secure?
So multiple checkpoints.
Definitely. It's crucial for the brand's reputation and making sure you, the customer, get a well-made garment that will last. It's the last gatekeeper.
Makes total sense. And assuming they pass inspection, then it's just tagging and packing.
That's the last step.
Yeah.
All the tags go on brand info, size, price, those all-important care instructions. Then they're folded, usually bagged individually, and boxed up for shipping to stores or warehouses or direct to online customers, ready for their new life.
Wow, what a journey. From a cotton seed through ginning, spinning, that amazing indigo dyeing,
The twill weaving, maybe on a shuttle loom for selvage.
precision cutting, all those sewing steps, the rivets, the yoke.
Then the washing, maybe distressing for character. And finally, that crucial quality check.
It's an incredible blend of tradition, technology, and sheer artistry. But we have to touch on a really important aspect we hinted at, the environmental side, especially water usage.
Yes, that's a critical conversation. Traditional denim production historically has been very resource intensive, especially water.
That figure you hear? Up to 1,800 gallons of water for one pair of jeans. Is that real? It sounds insane.
It's a figure that's been widely cited for traditional methods, yes. It accounts for cotton irrigation, dyeing, multiple washing cycles. It's a staggering amount. Like you said, many bathtubs full.
And what are the consequences of using that much water and dealing with the wastewater?
Huge strain on water resources, especially in dry areas where cotton is grown or jeans are finished. And the wastewater, if not treated properly, can be full of dyes, chemicals, microfibers, polluting rivers, and harming ecosystems. It's a serious issue the industry has been grappling with.
But you also mentioned innovation is changing things.
Massively. This is where the good news comes in. Modern factories and responsible brands are making huge strides. Things like closed-loop water systems are becoming more common.
Meaning they reuse the water.
Exactly. Filter it, treat it, and reuse it within the factory for dyeing and washing. Dramatically cuts down freshwater use and discharge. Technologies like ozone washing, using ozone gas instead of water for fading effects, or those laser fading techniques we talked about.
Yeah.
Both significantly reduce water and chemical consumption. Innovation is really driving down the impact.
That's really encouraging. Makes you think differently about the choices available. And beyond water, what about sustainable materials? Are brands moving that way too?
Definitely. That's another huge trend. using organic cotton, grown without synthetic pesticides or fertilizers. Less chemical runoff, often less water needed.
Okay.
Using recycled denim, shredding old jeans or factory scraps, spinning new yarn, weaving new fabric, keeps textiles out of landfill, reduces need for virgin cotton.
Circular economy approach. Nice.
Yep. Also exploring plant-based indigo again, moving away from synthetic dyes. Using natural enzymes instead of harsh chemicals for washing, even looking into things like plastic-free stitching to reduce microplastic shedding. The whole life cycle is being re-examined.
So, what does all this sustainable innovation mean for the future? For us as consumers, for the industry?
It means, hopefully, a future where sustainable practices become the standard, not the exception. More transparency for consumers to make informed choices. Industry standards shifting towards greater responsibility. As these greener technologies get better and cheaper, it could genuinely transform denim's footprint. It encourages us all to value not just the look and feel, but also the story of how our clothes were made.
What an absolutely incredible deep dive. We've gone from that tiny cotton seed all the way through spinning, dyeing, weaving, cutting, sewing, finishing. It's mind-bogglingly complex.
It really is a fusion of agriculture, chemistry, engineering, manufacturing, and artistry.
And to think jeans started as tough workwear, and now they're this global cultural symbol worn by practically everyone.
Each pair really does carry that whole history inside of the spinning, the indigo's potential, the weaves, the stitching, the finishing touches.
So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? When you next pull on your favorite jeans, what stands out? Is it the fades telling your story? The sturdy feel? Maybe you now thought about the water saved in making them.
Does knowing the whole intricate process change how you see this everyday item? Maybe how you choose your next pair?
We hope this deep dive just encourages you to look a little closer, because often the most common things around us hide the most amazing, complex, and really quite impactful stories.